Hello and welcome to PE turned RE. I'm Curtis, and today I'm interviewing Jarrod. Uh, Jarrod, for the guests that don't know you, can you give a little background on who you are?
Sure. I'm a former Intel employee. After 23 years, I left that corporate world to go pursue real estate investing. So I live in Oregon, but I invest in Arizona. I started off private money lending in April of 23. And then in August, I bought my first real estate property, ran it as an Airbnb for tax reasons. And then January 1, 2024, turned it over to a co living house as a pilot. It worked out well. So I bought two more. So our current portfolio, we're at 24 units in Arizona. And then we're house hacking our primary residence in Oregon. So I guess you could say 25 units.
Nice, nice. Yeah, and that's a quite a big jump within a short amount of time.
Yeah, it is. And I was going to buy one or two more, and I owe, well, the whole community. Dion, Millennial Mike, Mike Zuber, Matt Lumberjack, all the guys. And then also Chad Carson.
Mhm.
I met him at the Vegas thing, and he really solidified slowing down because, the whole slow is smooth and smooth is fast thing. And I get it. Being a vet and everything, I kind of loosely heard that, but it didn't really sink in. But Chad looked at me and said, "Hey man, if you go out and buy 10 properties and you learn of a mistake or two that you made, you're going to pay that mistake like 10 times. Whereas if you go out and buy one and you learn all those mistakes, you just save yourself that pain and that cost 9 times." And then it actually sunk in. So I took his advice a little bit. I slowed down, and then right after that Vegas event, I went and bought two more houses. but I was slower than I don't know if that's fast or slow. I don't care. I was going at my pace, so it worked out. And so far we learned a few things, but nothing super costly.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting message from Zuper's event because we actually met at the Northwest Summit here in no, it was Coding and Christian's
Yeah, the Robin Hood.
event.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the Robin Hood, and at that one, folks are trying to grow really fast, and it's kind of a different like message there.
Yeah, yeah, that's where we spent that whole night. I was so blessed to have. I don't know why nobody approached Dion and Millennial Mike, but you and me. We spent the whole night talking to those guys, man. I soaked every bit of information out of them that I could. So I love this community. I don't do what Dion does. I don't do what you do. At least not yet. By the way, I'm looking at a fourplex, but you just take tidbits from each person and learn, and that's hopefully what people get out of this. Maybe a little tidbit here and there and progress.
Yeah, and so I want to go back. So you had said you started private money lending in 2023.
Yeah, in April.
Okay, so what caused you to go that route? Because to me that's a big step of like, hey, I'm giving someone else my hard earned money that I've saved up.
Yeah, I'm a little different. I'll just go ahead and say that right now. Um, so I did it for other than monetary reasons. I mean, yeah, I wanted to make a buck, but so I'll back up even further. So it's no coincidence that April of 23 is when I started because I got pretty upset with taxes. Every time I climbed that corporate ladder, I would just get hit harder and harder, and I was getting really upset. And especially being in Oregon, and you're in Washington, you know what I'm talking about. The taxes are just insane, and plus, I'm not trying to get political, but I don't agree with what they're doing with them. So that helped. And so in April, I was like, all right, there's got to be a better way. I actually wasn't looking to get into real estate or private money lending or anything. I was just trying to find a way to save money on taxes, right? And so I found this book called Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. It was like $14 Audible book off of Amazon, and I listened to that, and it just clicked, man, instantly. And I don't know that I've ever had anything click that succinctly in my life. Maybe my wife and kids, married my wife and all that was pretty instant. Anyway, off topic. But so I read that book or listened to that book, however you want to say it, and it just clicked. And so I started doing research in real estate, and I didn't want to buy a house. I didn't want to make that commitment right off. So I figured, well, I'll get into somewhere where there's a buyer and a seller, and I can kind of get in the middle. And so that's what I did. I was actually trying to start off doing a really small loan, and I tried and for like earnest money loans. and it just didn't work. I mean, out of the couple hundred that I looked at, there was only like 11 or 12 that I wanted to do, and I pursued them, and not one of them would work. And so I gave up at that point, and I just switched up to a private money lender. And then my first out of the gate was a 400K loan, but I didn't want to put 400K into it. Because I was using my retirement funds, and that would devastate me. So I put 50K in there, and it was weird. This is where I learned, when you have a good deal, there's a lot of money out there. I made a few phone calls, and within about a half hour, we had that thing funded. And I didn't know I had. And by the way, I'm not a capital raiser. I don't want to be a capital raiser. I'm not a connector. I'm not one of those people. The only reason I did it because I was in the deal. And so I wanted the deal to work. And it was a good one too, man. We made a 15% return in 2 months. And it was awesome, right? And so I made some lifelong friends there with some people. And then some things had happened with that particular borrower, and it made me a little uneasy. And so it could have been, anyway, I'm not going to speculate. But so I quit lending. I have a couple repeat borrowers now, but I did it mainly just to get in and learn some things. And that's what I did. So I still do private money lending. Matter of fact, I just talked to Henry Washington today from Bigger Pockets.
Nice.
So that was cool. And I'll do it occasionally, but it's a risk. But I did it to learn, and then I learned enough by August, so April to August, that I went ahead and pulled the trigger on my first investment property in Arizona, and I live in Oregon. So
nice. What was it that you were able to take away from the private money stuff?
And you're gonna laugh, but just basic stuff. Like, I didn't, even though I'd bought my personal homes in the past, with lending, there's a lot more things involved. Like, you have a promissory note, which isn't worth much, or a JV agreement, but you have a lien possession usually, right? So just learning a little bit about the industry and learning the terminology and those type of things helped me a little bit, right? But that's where I stumbled on co-living, because I was looking for cash flow like everybody else, but I was looking for like a more cash flow than normal, right? Like a single family home rental wasn't going to do it for me. And so I originally was actually looking at the traveling nurses. And I was looking in Texas and Florida and even Arizona, but Texas was the main one because they have 22 level 1 trauma centers there. And so I was going to buy, 2-1 condos, or, something near 10 minutes within those hospitals. And then further research, it was, a lot of people were doing it. And also this could vary, but 2029, 2030, that may dry up because of the nurses they're bringing on. So I was like, well, I don't want to have all these because at that time I was going to go full hog, man. I was going to go 100%, buy as many as I could afford. And I'm glad I learned that would have been a dumb idea, but I didn't do it. And I learned about this co-living thing through Sam Wiegert and some other people. I joined 2 other mentorships and learned about it there too. And I joined Sam Wiegert's week-long free class that he gives. He's been doing co-living for 15 years now, which is, rent by room, right? But he's doing it a little different than, say, the pad splits of the world. He's doing an annual lease. And there's some people that do just an empty room that they furnish. And he tries to get people that are kind of like-minded and similar ages if he can, but there's laws. And so he'll go into a house and add bedrooms. And that's what I originally was going to do. But as it turns out, when I bought my first house and I added those 8 bedrooms, I learned after I'd added the bedrooms that a good tax play would be to run that as a short-term rental through Airbnb, which I did. I rented out an 8-bedroom house 3 times. One was a Thanksgiving, because this was in November. Another one was like a corporate thing, and another one was like 3 construction guys. And I undercut the market because I did not care about any income. I think I made a whopping $1,000 on that. And cleaning fees on top, so maybe $800 or whatever it was. I didn't care about the money. It was simply for tax purposes, right? So I ran it that way and then shut it down for December. And then January 1, I flipped it over to a pad split house. And the reason I went pad split was, in order to run as an Airbnb, I had to furnish the darn thing. So I went ahead and furnished it as a pad split-ish. And so that's how I got into the pad split. My original plan was, all right, well, that makes sense. I'll go ahead and get into this with pad split, and I can learn from them and that kind of thing. And then we were going to do our second one as a co-living, and we thought, well, hell, this is working out pretty good. Let's go ahead and do another one. And we ended up doing another one. So we did 3 of them. And here we are.
Yeah. Some people think I'm crazy because I house hack. My tenants live right by me. I might share a wall, right? But some people might think you're crazy because you're putting eight strangers into one house, like a reality TV show or something. Has
Yeah.
there been any challenges with eight people in a house?
Yeah, there's been some challenges. We've had issues, and I knew that going into it, but the cash flow on it was worth it to me. So we've had, nothing major, but we've had, the typical thing: people leaving dishes in the dishes, and the dishwasher not cleaning them, not taking their clothes out of the washer, those kind of things. But I guess the biggest ones are we had a guy, and this one cost me too, smoking weed in the house. You're not supposed to smoke on the property, let alone smoking weed in the house and skunking up the whole house. So I'd asked him, hey man, look, I gave him a warning, stop, you're not supposed to smoke in the house. And he continued to do it. But what he did was he opened the window. Well, it's summertime in Arizona. So my AC bill was a couple $100 more. It was $633.
Oof.
Yeah, it should be around the $400 mark. So yeah, that sucks. So anyway, we had to ask him to leave. We had an older gentleman that wasn't very good driver with a scooter and took out a door and dinged up some things here and there. Nothing major, just relatively minor stuff. We've had some repairs. I had to put a $7,000 AC unit on the third house that I bought. The day I bought it, I had to put a $7,000 AC unit on it, and I knew it going in. And I actually I got about $2,000 concessions from the seller, so that was cool. I felt bad though because that house was he had it listed for $585, and then over the course of a couple months, I ended up picking it up for $465.
That's a great deal, man.
Yeah, it was, and that's the reason I bought it. And it was newly renovated too. And I found out through the grapevine he spent about $120 on it.
Oh,
and all in double pane windows, man. It does great. My power bill in that house is single digits.
Oh wow!
In Arizona in the summer, but the reason it is mainly because the solar, it's an older solar system, solar array, but it's 65 kilowatt hours. But that system was put in at a time when the power companies didn't screw you over like they do now. So it's a 1-to-1. So everything it generates just cuts off the bill. So that's not normal, by the way. Yeah, that's super rare. So I got lucky.
I'm curious because you had said that you just asked the weed guy to leave, but for example, if I have a tenant that's causing issues, I can't just ask them to leave. So can you go more into that weed story and kind of what the difference is?
So luckily it was within the first week, right? So there's a 30-day commitment. So he's actually still there. The 30th is when he's out, but so far he hasn't caused any problems, so that's good. But and I thought about maybe letting it go, but then he said guests, so you can't have guests in the house, guests over, and different things have happened. I'm like, dude. But anyway, it's a week to week, so it's a 30-day commitment with a week to week membership, right? So you're not a tenant, it's not a lease. You basically are a member of an LLC. So my LLC leases to Pad Split's LLC, and the members of the Pad Split LLCs, if you read the membership agreement, it's basically like a gym membership, except 30-day commitment with the week to week after that. And so as a member of that LLC, they get rights to the property. It's legalese, it's lawyer stuff. It's to get around, but it's to address a lot of the municipalities have regulations that say, hey, no more than 3 people in a house or tenants in the house. Well, I have one tenant, and that's Pad Split. And Pad Split has members, so there's no tenant. So it's legalese.
Nice. Yeah. And from our conversation offline, I hear you're not very happy with Pad Split of late.
I'm happy with them because I'm legacied in, but in May 1st, they'd switched their pay structure, their pay model or their fee model. And so on paper, it sounds great, but it's not. If you do I actually did the math. Currently, their property management fee, they handle all the people side. I handle the maintenance of the house. That being said, if you're running a Pad Split, you're going to get involved with the people. It's just the way and you probably should, because you want to run at least I want to run a good service. I'll touch on that real quick. All of our houses have really nice amenities, granite countertops or quartz, stainless steel, and all that. We have cleaning ladies and all that. But yeah, the new structure. Well, I'll explain the old structure that I'm on. The property management fee is 12%. flat based on gross income, and then 2.75% on membership fees every payment, right? So you can just basically figure 15%, and that's high. But in general, they deal with the acquisitions. Well, they do deal with the acquisitions of the people, but I also am doing my own marketing, because if you rely on just pad split, you're probably not going to fill your properties. And I haven't actually either. I'm trying, like, desperately learning marketing and yada yada. Maybe I'll pay somebody. But so 15% now, and that's what all three of my properties are on. The new structure is 8%, but they take the first 10 days of that 30-day commitment plus the 8%. And then there is no 2.75%. So it sounds great, but that 10 days, if you do the matter of fact, they'll tell you, if you call them and ask them, the math works out to be about 8 months. And if you ask Pad Split, they say their average membership is 8 months. And that is probably true nationwide. Like they're in Atlanta, they're in Florida, and now they're in Arizona and Texas and places like that. But they've only been in Arizona since, I think, the January of 2023. So I'm not sure what the data shows, but myself and other hosts that I've talked to, we're looking at about 5 months ish right now. And that might be fine. Like, as time goes on, as I understand it from other seasoned hosts that are in other states, your first year is going to be relatively, dynamic, let's say, or volatile, because you're going to have people come and go, and then you'll have some people that'll stay, and over time you'll start to build up folks that will stay longer. And I've noticed that too so far. I've got a couple older gentlemen in one house, and they're probably going to be there a while. I've had one tenant in my first house, been there 7 months right now, so that's good. Or member, I should say. Sorry, I screwed up myself. Lawyers watching me, you're gonna be like, hey. Yeah, so hopefully over time it'll even out. And then for me, my lease is up on the first house in January 2025. But with any luck, I'll be somewhat populated. So if I do lose one person and a new person comes on at that new 8%, it won't be such a hit. Whereas right now, if I was to buy another one and try to pop it, every single room will be 8%, and every single new member will be 10-day hit, 10-day hit, 10-day hit, and it's substantial. And so yeah, I'm not thrilled about it. When it first happened, about half of the pad split community was yay, and the other half was like, no, this sucks. Now I'd say 3/4 of the community is like, hey, this is no good. So
Gotcha.
After people started rolling to it, then there was a lot of complaints and stuff. So I'm not knocking pad split. I'm just saying, for me, it's a hit. And so either I've been looking at other markets and trying to put my money in. I have a friend of mine that's taking one of his. He's got 9 properties in Arizona. He's got one pad split now. He doesn't like the new model either, but he's got a tenant that just moved out of one of his long-term rentals, and he's going to convert that to a co-living house. And I'm going to kind of ride his coattails and see how that goes. So if it goes well for him, because he's local and he's helped me out a couple of times on my properties because I'm not local, and I have handyman, electricians, plumbers, and cleaning ladies and all that. But yeah, so I'm going to kind of see how that goes. But also at the same time, I've been talking to Millennial Mike about a 4-plex that's right next to the one he just bought in Gary, Indiana. So we'll see. I talked to his realtor today and sent him a message, and so we'll see.
Nice. Yeah. Especially when you're at a distance, it seems like that networking is even more important, because it's not like you can go to the local meetups. Is there any tips that you would share for those that want to go out of state?
Well, I did actually for a year. 10 months or so, I was going to the local meetups, and that's where I met a lot of these people. And I had that opportunity to have almost a year off before I went back to work. And so I used every minute of it. I flew down there a lot. I drove a lot of neighborhoods, talked to a lot of people. But yeah, if you have somebody local, boots on the ground, like in this case, Millennial Mike, right? He's not local either, but he's got systems and teams in place. And so the proposition I proposed to him was like, hey man, I know you bought that 4-plex. I would like to buy a 4-plex. How about I buy one right in your neighborhood? And he's like, yeah, because that way both of us maybe together. I haven't asked him this yet, but I was going to leverage his property manager that way for 2 reasons. 1, because he's already got the systems in place, but 2, I don't want to. I know that we, I guess, technically being competing with each other, but that with the same property management, the property manager would set the rents. I don't want to like undercut him, any of that kind of stuff. But we'll see. I haven't even got the reply back or what the deal is. I'll probably fly out there and check it out if things progress, just to see what I'm dealing with. I'm not hands-on. But back to your question, yeah, I think networking's key. Even if you're not local, reach out to people that are. Just talk to a lot of people, and if you can get out there, it behooves you to get out there at least once, because you can pick up on things. Like I was originally looking in Marysville because the properties were cheaper, like 300 and some or so in Phoenix. And I got down there and I was like, oh no, not doing this. And I'm not local, so I didn't know. I did grow up there as a kid, but I don't remember much of it, and things have changed obviously. But yeah, that one drive through that neighborhood was like, oh no, I wasn't. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. They're, so who knows? Gary, Indiana might be, but that's different though. Gary is going to be a property manager. I was originally, when I was looking, I was going to manage it myself. So that's the mindset I was in. So now, granted, I have moved on to pad split, and they're doing the people side, but I still have to go down there and time to time. And, I lived in the property for a while and worked with cleaning people and all that. So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I've heard a rumor. I've actually seen any like promotion for it yet or anything like that. But I want to say someone like Mike is helping someone with an event in Chicago in September, at the end of September. I've heard just the rumors of that, so I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. But if it does, I think that'd be a really cool opportunity for folks that want to go invest out there where cash flow makes a little more sense and actually be safe because you're in a group.
Yeah. Is that the turnkey event?
I'm not sure. I'm not even really sure on who to talk to. I mean, I guess I could text Mike and see on what's going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Mike seems to be, I know he's got one short term, but he's, value add kind of guy. So if I picked up this property, I'd probably, I would just do it cash, because they're fairly cheap, and then do the reno on it, and then look at the refi on it to cash out some later. So that's actually what I'm looking forward to on the 3 properties I have. Because I'm 60% loan to value on one, I'm 66% loan to value on another, and then I'm like 90 on the third one because it's basically no equity on that deal. But in the future, if the rates drop in a year or so, or less than a year, if they get to a good point, then I would like to at least refi them. Maybe not cash out anything, but maybe just refi, or maybe cash out refi. We'll see how things go. So
nice. And then you had talked a little bit about trying to be like me and like house hacking. What are you trying to look for there? Because I know you have a wife and kids, so
yeah.
What's that look like?
So my plan there is, if we pick up the Gary, Indiana one, maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. But is to buy a 4-plex here locally. The problem there is it won't really cash flow, and so I'm going to have to find either a value add. I want to take advantage of that 5% down. So what I would do is, I would go live in the thing, right? Because I work in Hillsborough, and just come back, and I'm close enough to say Hillsborough. I'm in Forest Grove, but Hillsborough's right there. Cornelius is right there, so I could live in the property, for a year, and then after that, bail and just stay at the house. But I really like that 5% down for the 4-plex deal. I could take 50 grand and own $1 million asset, So the properties around here are about anywhere from 9 for a fixer, or maybe 8, and then to 1.2 though. So for me, it'd be like 60 grand or so, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay. And so when I talk to people about what I'm trying to do, that they often hit me with the excuse, or what they call their reason why they can't, is because they have a wife and they have a kid. So how are you able to kind of balance what they need, or communicate, hey, this is what we need to actually do?
Well, I'm a little older, and I don't want to work forever. And so I talked to the wife before I started the original journey, because I started in April, but I was still at Intel until August. And so, I'd shown her, hey, look, we made $8,500 in 2 months. And that's, and then the other commitment I did to show her was I had a lot of toys, right? We didn't have any debt, but I had a 1-ton Denali. I had a 500 horsepower off-road Jeep and a toy hauler and all that. I sold it all. And that's what we used to buy our first property in the reno, and then even part of the second property. So she saw that, and you'd have to know me. I was a huge off-road guy. That's my email address, wheeling. Anyway, I had a website and all that stuff. That's all I did. That was my main thing, was off-roading, and I loved it. Moab, Utah, St. John's, California, just different places around the nation. And so yeah, she saw me do that, and so she knew I was committed. So my wife and I have a really good relationship, and she knows when I put my mind to something, man, I'm doing it. And I'm not a stranger to investing in a way, because I didn't need the money. I was flipping trailers for the hell of it. I don't know why. I fell into that somehow. I was back in 2005 or something. I was like, oh, quads are cool. So I got into quads before I got into I was in off-roading, but I got into quads also at the same time. Toys, right? And so I bought a toy hauler. And then I had that for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. And I bought a pretty good price for like $8,000. I ended up selling it for $13,000. And I was like, wow, man, I made $5,000 on this thing. And so I just fell into it. My last toy hauler wasn't really a toy. It was a dragster. It was a 40-foot, tandem axle, really nice, living quarters and everything. I saw this thing pop up on, actually, I didn't see it. I paid a guy that worked nights at a place that he only had to do a certain amount of work, and he was my looker guy. So I paid him $500. But then I went out and bought this thing for $29,000, and then 3 weeks later sold it for $49,000. So I made $20,000 on this thing.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah. So I was flipping trailers and just having fun with it. So I thought, well, the only reason that worked is because I knew the market. So I figured, well, if I can get into real estate and know the market, or at least understand the products, then I could probably do okay. The difference is hell of a lot more variables and a hell of a lot more product markets. It's a whole new ballgame. But at least if I can understand a few different markets, I'd be all right.
Yeah, nice. And so that's kind of sounds like a sacrifice to give up the toys that you love so much, and probably like the time, because I'm sure you would spend like your weekend in the hills or something like that. I'm not an off-roading guy. I think I just heard that somewhere. But you go off and you do these fun things. Has there been anything else that you've had to kind of give up or
everything?
Sacrifice?
Everything, man. Like I used to be the, I guess, quintessential, how they say people work 9 to 5 and they come home, watch Netflix and all this stuff. But you want to talk about a pivot. For that first year, I didn't do anything but real estate. I consumed content. I had earbuds at all the time. I was, wasn't working. So I have a bigger pocket shirt that has paint stains all over, because I was down there painting one of the houses. So I spent a lot of time in Arizona too. And the family did too. My wife and son came down with me, helped me build beds and helped me put furniture together on 2 of the houses. So it was kind of a family affair. But yeah, I went full bore on those 3 houses, and it's a lot of work, man. So I think if people are looking to get into pad splits, I know there's companies out there you can hire to do the work. We actually, that 3rd house we bought, it was furnished by a pad split furnishing company, and the guy said he spent like $10,000 on it. And it was furnished, but the quality of stuff, sorry, let me turn that off. The quality of the stuff that was there wasn't that great. We swapped out a lot. We swapped out a lot of the, I call them armoires. I guess what do you call them? The, not the closet, but, stuff to hang clothes on. I know I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, swapped those out because those sucked. And then a couple of the beds, they had a full-size bed in these huge rooms. So we put queen beds in there. We swapped out a lot of the mattresses because they weren't very good. And I networked with enough hosts down there. There's actually a mattress company down there that sells relatively inexpensive mattresses that are really good quality. And my wife, she told me, we tested out some stuff, and not the way that sounded bad. We slept on them, and then she's like, these suck. The Amazon ones you buy for like $169, those are horrible. I didn't think they were that bad, but she's like, no. So anyway, we put a little bit more money into the mattresses because we're furnishing these rooms. So but yeah, and dressers and end tables and lights and fans in all the rooms and that sort of thing. So
nice.
Oh man, sorry.
You're all good. So that doesn't seem, very balanced life. And I think today we hear a lot about balance and, making time for everything. What's your take on the word like balance?
Well, I think that's good. I think most people should have balance, but I was trying to take advantage of the time that I had, because when I left Intel, so my mom had a stroke, and that sort of sped everything up. And so I needed to get down to Arizona. I just so happened my mom's in Arizona too, but I was analyzing markets not with her in mind, but she lived there. And so anyway, she had stroke, and then she passed in April. But I'm super happy that I got to spend the time I did with her before she passed. But I'm sorry. Yeah, I just kind of spaced there. What was the question again? Sorry.
Like balance.
Balance. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I got to think about my mom. Got off topic. So yeah, I'd say that's normal. Like now we're more balanced than we used to be, or than I did for the last year. But when I left Intel, I'd asked them. I did try working from Arizona, and I probably could have stayed on and worked from Arizona. But I'm a pretty honest guy, and I just didn't want to. I had a large team. I had a 52 person team, managers and employees and all that. And it just wasn't fair to them. Right. So I did try for about a month, but my head wasn't right. And so I just asked Intel to buy me out, and they did. So that was nice. So I had basically an entire year's worth of salary that I could leverage during that time. Right. So that's what I did. I just maximized that time and went full bore, so. And
Nice.
I realized a lot of people don't have that type of a thing, but I did, so I took advantage of it. So
nice. Take what they give you. So Trade Better 99 has a question here. Jarrod, do you still feel like you're in grind mode around your family now that you have a few properties under your belt?
I'm not in full nutso grind mode. Sorry, I put my glasses on so I can see what's being put there. But we're still looking. But the problem I had was, and I knew this going in too, was I don't like single points of failure. And when you're relying on something like pad split, if something changes, that's a single point of failure. And my fears came true when they changed their pricing model. So now I'm in a situation where I have to pivot a little bit, either go co-living or, get the fourplex and do a long-term rental. So, which is kind of a good thing in a way. So I'm not in full grind mode, no, because I did pick up a W-2 so I could be bankable, so I could get the fourplex with the 5% down. So I'm in a combination mode, which most people are probably in, working 9 to 5 and then 5 to 9 doing your research and looking at properties and all that kind of thing. Yeah, no, I'm not in full grind mode.
Nice. And then Mark has a question for me. How long have I been growing my hair out for? It's been a few years, probably at least maybe four or 5 years now. It's actually like longer if it was not in the dread. So just think about that. Oh yeah, Mark's funny. Yeah, so you go back to work. So you're planning to go back to work because you're there now, right?
Yeah, I took a job, more or less a temporary job, and on my YouTube channel, REIJarrod, Jarrod, plugging myself. I went through my financials and shared actually what I'm making, and it's not a whole lot of money, but I did that. I'm a networker, right? So, and that's a good thing, I think. But the reason I took that particular job, because it just so happens to be in the building where I used to work. And so I have an interview I had an interview yesterday, and I have the second follow-up on Thursday for a management job. So if that comes to fruition, then that dollar amount will go way up. So
Nice.
We'll see. And then a month from now, I've got two. If that doesn't work out, we've got two more potentials after the requisitions to hire open up, if they open up. So we'll see.
Okay. And so for folks that are new, why does having a W-2 make you more bankable?
Oh, well, I mean, if you have a steady income, like banks look at, your income, right? And I don't have 2 years of rental income behind me yet. So I just started, like I said, in April lending, but as far as the income properties, that really didn't start till January, because the Airbnb thing, it was nothing. So on paper, the rental incomes won't be shown until the end of this tax year, and then we'll see what happens. Matter of fact, even to buy those, the first one I bought was my primary residence that I lived in, and then the next two I bought were DSCR loans. And so that required, the first one I bought was 25% down, and because I'm a what they consider a novice investor. And then I went to them again like a month later and said, "Hey, I want to buy another one." And they're like, "Dude." And so that one required 30% down. And, these are, $450,000 homes. It was a substantial amount of money. But for me, I was looking for that cash flow and, the income from those investments. And then I also was I figured, at some point in the future, because if they're cash flowing I'll just give you the rates. One of them's at 7.65, another one's at 7.5, and the third one's at 6.25. And so, if they're cash flowing now fairly well, they're going to cash flow even more when I refi them, right? So that was the mindset.
Nice. Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat too. My first duplex, the rate is really really low. It's like 4.1, but the triplex that I just bought is like 6.6 or something like that. And so I'm like, well, if it works now, if rates ever go down, it will really work then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's good. I think that's also how newer folks can kind of get a base hit, but it can turn into a home run if you just give it time.
Yeah, you got those lower rates because it was your, primary residence. That's nice. Yeah.
Good. And so it sounds like you have a lot of projects. You're debating to continue the co-living thing, the Gary thing, and house hacking. And then you're working.
Yeah.
What does time management look like? Because holy smokes, man.
Yeah, well, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know how you want to look at it. My son is a gamer, and so I bought a Switch just so I can socialize with him. I know it's sad, but on video games, right? So we'll play some video games, and we're big. I like Mario Kart.
Nice.
we play Fortnite and all that, and things like those nature. So, and he's a big Minecraft kid, but I don't get it, so I don't play Minecraft.
Nice. If people wanted to connect with you, how could they go about that?
Oh, I'm on YouTube as REIJarrod. So REIJarrod. So
perfect. And then are you on Instagram as well?
I am also as REIJarrod, REIJarrod. But as Millennial Michael tell you, I don't check it that often. I try. And he's been busy, so we've been playing Instagram tag for about a week now, which is dumb because I have his number, he has mine, but I just don't want to bug the guy. I know he's busy, so.
Yeah, aren't we all in this world?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Jarrod, for coming on, and for those of you that have questions.